Guys, welcome to the Ultimate Trainer Podcast. Today, we're going to be talking about programming and, in particular, the intersection of physiology, biology, and psychology. So, when we're writing programs for clients, this is where a lot of trainers really have no idea. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. Because when we're taught program design, we're taught exercise science, and we're like sets and reps and those types of things, but we're not actually taught the underlying physiological principles, biological principles, and also psychological tools and principles that we need to do to get clients to actually stick to said program. So I'm going to give a really basic example here. One of the things that we're taught or has been taught in the fitness industry in the past was to not allow people to do isolation exercises until they had developed a certain amount of compound strength. This became very, very popular. It was some coaches even were of the mindset that was until your client can do 10 chin-ups, they have no business doing bicep curls. And like I just can't even wrap my head around that because 10 chin-ups is pretty damn hard. It takes into account nothing at all to do with body weight, which is problematic. And it makes no sense from a physiological perspective because the bicep is a smaller muscle group than the lats. By strengthening up the biceps physiology, we're able to basically improve your ability to do chin-ups. That seems crazy. Biologically, training any tissue leads to improvement qualities of movement and strength all over. And then psychologically, it's putting a real limiting belief on that client straight away that they're not worthy of doing something until they can actually do something that's really, really challenging to their physiology. And if we look at challenging a client, what is physiologically more challenging and more demanding from a recovery perspective? Giving someone 10 chin-ups or allowing them to do some bicep curls. Psychologically, what does that show someone who just wants to tone up their arms and get a little bit stronger around there? It's like, no, sorry, you got to do chin-ups, and you fail at that too. And also putting in these ideas that there's so many rules around movement and exercise that it just stops people from getting in the gym because it becomes all too hard. So what I propose as coaches is we learn exercise science and then we try and apply it to the fundamentals of physiology, biology, and psychology. So when we're looking at biology, I'm looking at things like tendons and recovery time in them. So we're looking at we can understand that isometric work works. We can understand with the biology of blood flow that occlusion training can work for particular situations. When we're looking at physiology, we could look at increasing cardiac output, how that's going to improve a client's physiology, not just from a local perspective, but from a global perspective. So if we increase someone's cardiac output, we lower their blood pressure, we increase their hemodynamic flow, we allow them to increase their parasympathetic tone over time, which allows them to tolerate and deal with stress better, which then changes their psychology and then also their biology because they're not secreting as high level of cortisol or noradrenaline and adrenaline. So these things need to be taken into consideration whenever we're training any single client. And I think the most important thing out of all of these categories is the psychology. Okay. I used to be pretty much the other way. I think for the first 12 years of my career, it was all physiology, anatomy, biomechanics, biology for me. It's all I really cared about because my opinion at the time was if I knew the mechanism, if I could explain the mechanism and use the big words and show how smart I was, the client would then feel inclined to do the behavior without understanding it and they would get better because big words, exact mechanism, exact answer, go do the thing, right? Unfortunately, reality has a cruel way of making us very aware of our mistakes and generally sometimes taking longer than what it should to remind us that we're doing the wrong thing. And when I looked at my results with clients over that time frame, I had a lot of really good results, really incredible results for a lot of physiological conditions and injuries and stuff like that. Like I was really, really good at that. I wasn't so good at the body composition stuff. Okay. And the body composition stuff like really blew my mind because it's fundamentally simpler. When you're looking at injuries and medical and health conditions, for example, there are a lot of interacting factors that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with these things. But the thing that also exists when you're dealing with someone with, like, say, horrendous back pain, you're dealing with someone with a high degree of motivation. If you're dealing with someone with a high degree of motivation to solve their problem, they will do whatever it takes, pay whatever price to get out of that pain. The pain is so bad for them that they will do what they can to get out of it. And this is why when we see someone who has like a root canal that's been exposed and they're in horrible agonizing mouth pain, they have no qualms about paying the dentist how many thousands of dollars it is to get out of their head. Okay? There's no problems at all because the pain is so severe. Now, when we're dealing with body composition clients, and that's the majority of what we're going to be doing with our clients each and every week, it's body composition. Psychology is such a more impactful factor. It's so much more impactful because what happens there, it's our ability to get our clients to adhere to the thing. Okay? Physiology of fat loss isn't that hard. Be in a calorie deficit, move more. Like, it's not that hard. And we can have conflicting factors with that. Like, so you could say have someone who's hypothyroid, you could with a low metabolic rate, you could have people with injuries, you can't move as much, blah, blah, blah. But the same principle remains at the end of the day. The same principle underlies it, just the amount of calories changes. That's simply the easiest way to put it, and the ease that they can adhere to it changes as well. And that's where psychology is number one. If you're looking at your clients and you know your nutrition, you know your macros, you know your protein, you know your calories, you know your supplementation that works well, you know training, and you understand the physiology behind it all, you can then write really, really good programs. The skill set that you most need to develop is to understand human psychology at a pretty damn high level, in my opinion, because when you understand at a high level, you can persuade people to do things. And when you persuade people to do the thing that they need to do to get the outcome that they come to you for, that is the best form of social proof that you can have in building up your business. So our first starting point is to learn physiology and biology at a fundamental enough level to understand what systems we are stressing when we are exercising, and the physiology of nutrition, etc. Once we got to a base level, when we have a really good understanding of psychology, we can apply those base principles to anyone that we work with, because we have the skill set, to do that, and people will stick to it and we'll get social proof. From there, we improve our knowledge of physiology and biology as much as we can, because that allows us to work with increasingly more complex and more challenging clients and build up our business even further. So guys, that's the interplay of physiology, biology, and psychology. I'll see you soon.